Good morning and welcome to the Park Cemetery Committee meeting for Friday, August 11th, 2023. Present today is Council President Austin Clunt, Councilman Schramm. Absent is Councilman Schuyler, Park Cemetery Superintendent Marty Peterson, and Public Works Director Troy Kruger.
Oh, I guess we'll start with cemetery. So what we have so far, if we go with the numbers we have $194,211 for budgeted for cemetery. We don't really have a lot of.
You have more than that. These are old. We have the rest filled in.
This is the most current one I have. Did you redo the?
HR testing and supplies, the one that I sent out had a lot more than this. Do you want me to make copies of these real quick?
Yeah, ours are blank.
Last year's budget was $179,609. Could you check parks too?
Yep.
To date, we had Marty spent about a little over 50% of his budget in cemetery. We had 10,000 in last year's to do some roads out at the cemetery, and we're still planning on doing that this fall. That's not in 2023. That's the biggest number, but not a lot to work with.
What do you mean it's not in 2023? Or, you said it's not in 2023?
It's not in 2023.
It's not budgeted for, or it is budgeted for?
We put $10,000 in there for 2022,
Oh, not for.
but not for 2023.
Yep, okay.
That was that's probably the biggest number you're going to see on the sheet.
Okay. That,
Now, I don't know if she took it out or not, but we had that 2.5% and 5% for CDLs. As of yesterday, we did electrical, but that wasn't part of their overall budget, but it is for the rest of Public Works. Do we have new ones? Discard these buggers then.
Which one are we throwing away?
Your projected budget sheets for Parks and Cemetery.
The landscape one.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
Cemetery park.
Oh, so both of these are
Both of the
not
ones.
accurate? Okay.
They're old.
so these are a discard. Not gonna use those ones at all?
Recycle.
Sorry to have stopped you.
So, looking at cemetery. I guess we can just go down the line and. Did we take out the 5%?
Yeah, this has the 6.75.
That's it? No CDL bumps?
This does include CDL bumps.
Okay.
So did I read that we're modifying everything that we're not gonna go with CPI now?
No, CPI is 6.5. What personnel said is to put it at 6.75, so they get the CPI plus the potential to earn up to 0.25%. So we're technically budgeting for 0.25% higher than what CPI is.
Based on your yearly eval.
Okay. So when do we've already been told what CPI is gonna be for 2024?
Yeah, in January.
Okay, and that is the 6.5?
Yes, and that is from U.S. Department of Labor. I have it printed off of their website at the top.
Okay, they've already determined that, okay.
Well, we're 2 years behind.
Pardon me?
We're 2 years behind, not a year behind like most people.
Correct. So what we say about, when you're setting the 2024 budget, you're using what the average was from 2022. So that's how we have the number in January of 23, because it's the average of the full year of 2022.
Of 2022, not 2023.
Correct. That way we can budget.
Because
We
isn't
don't know what
CPI
2023
somewhere
is.
over 7?
Right now it's a 3.9.
Is what the,
3.9 is what they're saying it is now, okay.
on the front side of it, it looks like you're not getting the CPI bumps that you should. But on the back side, there might be a 2%. You might still be back at that 7% that the year before was.
Okay.
So a longevity employee is always going.
Because I thought we modified our current budget, the one we're in right now, to be 7 something, did we not?
Yes, we did,
Okay.
7.25.
Yep, okay, that's where I'm getting my number wrong at, okay.
So all the numbers you're looking at on the sheet are at the 6.75. It's been adjusted.
Okay,
And for this department, well, for both of your departments, there is the potential for each of those employees having a 5% raise for having a Class A CDL. You did it for Parks and Cemetery? I thought it was just streets, water, sewer. Because Parks Cemetery doesn't have it in their job description as required.
No, but we have guys with CDLs that drive for snow removal and,
Sure. So I think, now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't think we plugged it into Parks and Cemetery because it's not a requirement for their job.
so on my $20 salary, 5% is 10 cents? Or is it $1?
on a $20 an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be,
Yeah, 10% would be $2, yeah, it'd be $1.
$1, okay, yep.
So anyways, we'll just, the personal services are what they are. HR testing, that's our, when we get the random drug testing, so each department pays for that. And I think we bumped that up a little bit because we were short this year. Find it here. Actually, we're at $56, I guess. That could actually be adjusted because we're only paying one out of cemetery, one employee. So the chances of them being picked is probably, could actually knock that down to $100. It's not much, but
That was on which one, Troy? The HR testing? Or,
Yeah, 4250.0002.
supplies, we have 20,000, and year-to-date, we have spent,
Those are all separated on the bottom of that, aren't they? Which is why it doesn't, it's not 774, it's actually whatever those all lines add up to.
You're correct.
Correct.
Okay,
year-to-date, we've spent a little over 2,000. And I think we bumped that up because last year we had a mower in cemetery go down, we had to replace the engine in it. You never know, but that supply line is probably, is a little high maybe. What do you think, Marty?
Well,
see, I'm not a very good adder, but I'm having trouble getting to 12,000 on your year-to-date there.
I
Of
said-
all those
Yeah, I said 2,000. If you look at the line, year-to-date activity, 2023, right beside
Yep,
your 2024, that's what her numbers are, but I have a different sheet that have, some of her numbers are, she doesn't get her numbers until invoices get submitted to the office. I get the numbers as soon as those guys cut a PO, so my numbers are a little more up to date than hers.
okay.
But it's, yeah, he's only spent about $2,000 out of supplies so far this year. I don't know how
No,
much.
I got,
No, you've
Oh, no, you
got- way more.
7,984.
Where do you see that?
So you've got one.
Is fertilizer considered a supply?
Oh, yeah, total
Oh, that's-
supplies. I'm just looking at like
So what do
shops.
all those lines add up to, Shannon?
7,984.79, and that's as of June 30th.
Yeah, that's his whole supply line.
Yeah,
So, and he does a lot of fixing up in the fall.
most of your money will be spent later this year then, yeah?
yeah, we'll need
Out of
another,
that 20,
Yes.
another, spray order out of there. and-
sure.
Chemicals. Fuel or cemetery's kind of weird. So our fuel deal's been, he spent heavily out of parks, but we didn't have a tag made up for cemetery, and we just started using that tag. It's in there now.
Yeah.
So his fuel line will increase a lot towards the end of the year here, because everything for parks and cemetery will come out of that. Like I said, the road repairs, the $10,000, that's probably the only number in here that's not, it's a request. It's a want, not a need. That's about the only number that we have to work with in the cemetery budget.
Can you remind me what the $5,000 is for equipment?
It's under rentals.
No, under 4340, second from the bottom, you have 5,000 in there. Do you remember what that was for? Is that for a mower or?
It'd be weed eaters, chainsaws, just,
So the plan for the cemetery roads is to use our chips that we are taking off our city streets, and we're gonna lay them down with our paving machine, with our little Lee Boy paver, and lay down a 2-inch mat of chips. And the 10,000 that we're asking for is to oil them, to put oil on them and chip them. So we're basically making blotter streets out in the cemetery instead of paying full price for asphalt. But the cemetery roads are, we're digging up all the sprinkler pits for the main road. And so that road's gonna be in pretty tough shape after this fall, after we get all those sprinkler pits done. So we'll have to do something on that one for sure, but all the roads are, the rest of the roads are all gravel. And they get wet and, needs to be something done out there.
So do we get to keep the millings do we have any, like we did on 7th Street, we put millings down and then blotter coat on top?
Yeah, we have a pile down at the north of the
Is
racetrack.
that what you're talking about, chips?
Yep.
Okay,
Millings, yeah, asphalt millings.
okay, I was thinking chips like you put on when you seal coat.
No,
Okay,
yeah, we keep all the millings. We have a pile down there about
Yep.
as big as this building
yep.
for alleyways and that kind of stuff. We have several streets in town that, 7th Street being one, Jackson Street is another one, that those streets are not asphalt street, they're just blotter streets, they're just made out of millings and a double chip seal. So that's what we have, that's what we're, collecting all those millings for.
Yep.
But it's a very cheap way to put a nice street out in the cemetery, a nice road. Any questions on cemetery?
I just seen one line that we haven't used
What's that?
Rentals, I just see we didn't use anything this year and then budgeted again next year.
I can't remember what we were gonna rent.
I don't either. I mean, it's a rich deal, I don't.
Well, and, yeah, we can eliminate that because everything that we were gonna rent in the past, we've purchased this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can we take that out?
yeah, it's 5,000, yeah.
Just like that 5,200
But if we need it, I'm fine leaving it, but if
No, we
don't
did-
really know, you know.
I don't, it's just, it's escaping me. I think we were gonna rent, oh, I know what we were gonna rent at, we were gonna rent a Cedar for doing that, redoing the highway project on that boulevard.
Yeah.
And then, if we had to, we were gonna rent, a knife, which Kurt's got that in his budget for next year. A knife to lay in the conduit out there for the sprinklers. But Kurt is going to rent a piece of equipment either this fall or early next year, because he's got some stuff he's got to do with it, and we're gonna, as long as we have it here, we're gonna do the cemetery stuff.
I don't see anything else. I think the cemetery looks better than it has in years.
Parks is gonna be much more fun. We're not cutting money, we wanna add money. So a couple things in parks. One thing is your grant. We got a letter from the grant writing office, or I guess the, office that
He's the state level.
grants the grants. They're asking for us to give them a timeline, like how many years it'll take us to complete this project. And the total project price is $145,900. So the wordage of the grant is, we actually have 3 years to complete the project. And we've talked about that multiple times. We actually put $25,000 in parks last year, but we did not receive the grant. So the money that we spent on that park out of that $25,000, we can't ask for reimbursement for that. So we start from scratch, day one. Once they tell us that we have the grant, then we can start ordering and installing materials, and then we keep track of that, and then this is a 50-50 grant, match grant. So they'll match 71, 72 something, whatever that comes out to be. They will match half of the $145,900, but they want a timeline. So the chances, we're getting close to getting the grant. What they're probably trying to figure out is if we're gonna ask for the full amount, like if we're gonna get the project done in 1 year versus if we're gonna stretch it out over 3 years. They're probably figuring out their final numbers on who's getting what amount, blah, blah, blah. So, that's up to you guys, how much you wanna put into that park this year. If you want and I can read you the breakdown, it's the pricing breakdown on everything is playground equipment is $71,953. Border, rubber, and mulch, $12,094, and that's to go around the playground equipment. Backstop nettings, that's the netting for all 3 of the ball fields, which we've already done one. So we won't spend that full amount.
But you didn't say that amount.
$18,441. Fence cap, that's the yellow stuff that goes on the back, on the fence on the outfields. $12,860. Windscreen is for the public to sit underneath, foul balls and whatnot. $20,463. And then he had fencing around the playground equipment, and that was $10,089.
So you don't have to put the expenses into the budget until you officially have the grant, and then you do a supplemental budget to work it out. But I agree, he needs to know the direction that council's wanting to go. Is it a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? So he can provide that to NPS. But ultimately, until you have the official acceptance of the grant from council and from NPS, you don't have to plug it into a budget.
What do you think, Marty? Like, because I know you and I have discussed this a couple of times. Is you foresee getting all the backstops done like in 1 year, or
Yeah, I could do those.
I mean, we could break it down that way. Like,
I mean, I think, I guess when we talked about this last year, council said that if we were rewarded the grant, we would pay the other, but it kind of depends on what the department is capable of for time frame. I mean,
I'd like all 3 years of it, if,
yeah, I mean,
just to have some cushion.
Part of the council might say, yeah, let's do it 1 year, but if it's not feasible, we
Yeah.
can't. We can't.
Right now, things are slowing down, but then we're out of help now.
Yeah, come back on your grant and not fulfill our side of it, so.
of all this material, obviously the backstop knittings, the backstops are going to be the most labor-intensive project. Because we got to pour concrete and we have cages that, it's just like setting a street light. Because we're using old street light poles to do this off of the highway project. I don't know if you've seen McDonald's field.
Yeah.
That backstop that we did up there, that's what
Yeah.
we're doing down there. So it takes some time to do those. That's gonna be your most labor-intensive project, I'm guessing.
Are you mounting those poles then just like as if they were a light pole?
Yep,
Yeah.
Putting them in concrete and then bolting them to that?
yep.
As opposed to just burying them in the ground and pouring concrete around them?
Yeah,
The light guy said you can't do that.
What's that?
Kurt said, can't do that. We thought of that, but
Can't do what?
do
Can't,
that.
you
because
can't put those light poles
They're
in the
not
ground?
ground contact,
They're what?
not ground contact kind of poles, they'll rust
Oh, really?
and,
If they were wood, it'd be different,
Okay.
but, and they would rust, or they would
Rot
corrode,
eventually.
yeah. I mean, they're already they rust naturally. I mean, that's what they are right now. Go down there and they're rusty, but they're not made to be buried.
Okay, yep.
They'll be gone in 5, 6 years. They'll be rusted off, rotted off. But anyways,
And that won't happen if you put them in, if you bolt them to the concrete?
well, they were on the highway for 30-some
There's a
years.
gap between the bottom of them and
Yep,
the concrete,
yep.
so they don't sit in water.
But you say they're rusting right now, you said.
Well, just surface rusting. you
Oh,
know.
okay, yeah.
I mean, they're made out of
They'll
metal.
do that if they're on the pillars too, right?
They're made out of metal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you paint them or put something on them, they're going to naturally, they're going to oxidize and rust, but,
Okay,
If I remember correctly, when Rich put this together, those prices include that
Right.
company coming and installing it, not our people.
well, not the backstops.
Okay.
We always planned on doing the backstops, but the fencing, they would do the
probably
fencing.
the playground equipment.
Yeah. The playground
That
equipment,
would be based off of what we have.
the playground equipment comes on a trailer and you have to put it together.
Okay.
No assembly,
Assembly is required.
so it is assembly required project there, but
Okay.
that's not a big deal. I mean, that's a couple day project.
so if we do a 3-year project, are you just gonna, like, take a third of this each year and put it in your budget? Is that what you're thinking? Or are you gonna do a specific part of this project in year 1, year 2, year 3?
I'm just giving you options.
Well, yeah, how do you wanna do it? I mean,
I think you'd have to do a specific part, because the majority of it, half of it is the playground equipment. So you
Yeah.
can't, I mean, and it's a whole big playground equipment. You couldn't just say, I'm only gonna pay for a third of it, but I want all of it. So you'd have to do specific parts per year.
yep,
I have no problem waiting until we get the netting for the backstops. Otherwise, we have all the other materials for that. But that's what we pay for that one, 27.
$2,000 for that,
Yeah, it was like a little over $2,000. It wasn't a big deal.
for the netting.
Yeah.
for the net, yeah. The
Yeah.
backstop, the brown treated wood was $1,500, $600 for the concrete.
Yeah,
$1,000 for those cages
Yeah.
to put in there.
I mean, we had less than $5,000 into the, you know,
But didn't you just tell us 12 for the netting, for the backstop?
2.
No?
yeah, that's what he has in here.
He has 18,000 for all 3 of them.
Yep,
18,441,
Yeah, that must have been for all 3.
yep.
okay,
And we did one already this year,
great.
so. I guess that's, you know, divide 145, 900 by, you know, by 3 and do it in 3 years, or wait till we get the grant, and then we can always ask the council for, come back and, you know, say, hey, we got the grant, you know, then what do you want to do?
But if they want to know our timeline, isn't that so that they decide whether we get 145 or whether we get 50?
Yeah. I would
Which
just
be
tell,
a 3-year,
and like I said, we'd probably tell them 3 years anyways, because Marty wants 3 years he wants to make sure you can get everything done.
yeah.
Is there such a thing to budget it all and carry it over from year to year?
I have no idea how that,
You know what I'm saying?
There is,
You can encumber.
yep.
Okay.
So the other thing is this is.
But then that way, we could do the $70,000 playground
Yeah,
equipment.
so this will be considered a capital improvement because it's improving the park as a whole, and this is federal dollars, so we really have to watch what we do. Has to go out for bid for the entire project. That'll be a tough one where it is some of it we are putting in our own labor, so we'll have to get that figured out in the bid. So that'll have to go into the dates, and then has to be American made, and it has to meet their specs. So one of the things that we originally submitted for in the grant was for, I believe, the rubber mulch. And they came back and said, we don't support rubber mulch because of blah, blah, blah. You have to do the wood chips type of deal. So because it's a federal grant, there's a lot more rules involved with it, and we'll have to follow them. Cross our Ts and dot our Is twice.
but if we make it a 3-year project, then we only have to match 50,000 in this budget year? That's a question.
Yeah, it's $25,000 a year for us if it's 3 years. Or 75,000 right now and encumber it each year that they don't use it. The only thing is then you, on our overall budget, you tie up
Yep,
$50,000, $60,000 for 2 years if you don't use it until the 3rd year.
You'll have to budget to spend the entire amount.
The
Because it's a
140.
reimbursable grant, so you'll have to put the full 150 in there, or 149, whatever it is. If you want my opinion on how to do it correctly accounting wise, I would say use cash, 140,000 out of our cash in the general fund, which will be 1.6 next year, won't be much. So once we officially, because we won't know till after we've approved this budget, if we have the grant. So I wouldn't even plug it into the 2024 budget. I would wait till we know we have it and then do a supplemental budget for the full amount. Planning to take 3 years for it, but we do the full amount, and then whatever doesn't get done over the 3 years, we continue to encumber it.
I'm fine however we have to do it on paper. I mean, when we talked about this last year, the whole council voted to, if we got the grant, that we would come up with the money for the.
do it all at once, yeah.
Well, but I mean, all at once, paying for it is fine, but getting it done isn't gonna be feasible.
Yeah. Can we work in December?
Yeah, some years.
Yeah.
Some years we're done in October.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess, my opinion is the council's still gonna,
They're gonna honor it.
yeah, they're gonna do our half. I mean, how can you turn down $75,000 worth of?
Let's just leave it out then, and then we'll deal with it when we know we have the grant.
I don't,
We have some money, we had $25,000 in there this year, and we got one backstop done, we got that all done. That field is in, you know, it's in pretty decent shape. We do have all the doors on all of our, parks bathrooms. Leahy Bowl, McDonald's Park, and Bailey's are shot, and we're gonna replace those this fall. So we've spent 5,000 out of that, a little over 5,000 out of that 25, but those doors are gonna be,
$1,650 a piece.
Yeah, they're expensive. And then we have labor, then we'll have labor to get them installed, so that'll end up being a $10,000 project probably.
And that's
And-
it, but that's in your 23 budget,
Yep.
right?
Right.
Yep.
You say you're gonna use that 25.
Yeah. And just a note, just popped into my head, but we had 2 picnic tables stolen out of the McDonald's park last week, or early this week.
They were there Monday.
They were there Monday.
Weren't there Wednesday.
Our big heavy metal picnic tables just disappeared overnight.
For Christ.
So we're looking for, we have two picnic tables that are at large right now.
We're gonna have to mount them in concrete?
Well, we had them, ironically
Two of
enough,
them
we had them
chained
all
together.
chained together.
Chained together, yeah. Well, chains are nothing. I mean, anybody's got a key for chains. Yep,
Bolt cutter,
yep.
just snap the chain. But, yeah, they're not easy to move around. I mean, like, that was like at least a 2-man operation. It wasn't a couple of 12-year-old kids throwing them in the pool, because them tables are heavy.
And they would've had a trailer too, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
effort.
yeah, you wouldn't fit one in the back of a pickup. It was a planned operation.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll table that until we decide we get our grant, so we can take the 25,000, which we don't have in there for next year. The next thing to talk about is ball field lights. We had an individual stop by Winter and look at our Leahy Bowl setup, and, I'm not a baseball guy, but they tell me that the lights at Leahy Bowl are getting pretty bad, to the point where we might not be able to have evening game. I mean, they can't find the ball in the air. You
It's
tell them what
dim,
you,
it's dark.
They're dark,
Yeah.
yep. And it gets darker every year, which is, I sent you a text.
Yeah, I just remembered that, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I didn't get any information back, but it's been a long time since we replaced the bulbs. And
I
when-
think it was 14,
And it could be. It
but I may
doesn't-
be wrong.
Doesn't
That's where I
matter.
was gonna start.
But I just
The guy at
remember,
that time told me that you lose 10% every year. And so, 5,000 lumens drops to 4,500 after year 1, and then to 4,100 after year 2, and so pretty soon you don't have very much light.
So next year would be 10 years if we're remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I just-
that might be why it's so dark. The new technology, that doesn't happen with the new LED lights. And if you want to read into some things, because we're not going to change our towers, they won't give us a 25-year warranty on the bulbs and labor, because we're not going to change our towers. But if we were to put in new poles that these guys sell,
that specific company won't give us that, but maybe somebody else
Yeah.
would give us a better warranty.
yep, but my point was, these light bulbs are gonna last 25 years with no loss of lumens. Okay? They won't wear out because they're LEDs. And they're run with a driver that's located 10 feet off the ground rather than get up and change a fixture 80 feet in the air. All that's upstairs there is just a luminary, is, I guess, where the
It's-
light goes through.
They're boards, that's what
Yeah.
a LED light is, it's just,
Yep.
it's a computer board with.
Yep, and so the cost of replacing these is gonna be 25 years away. Short of lightning and hailstorms, but we have insurance for that. So that's something to consider when we put these, look at that, so.
So the total cost, this is just one quote. I have not gotten 3 quotes or talked to anyone else but this one individual. But the total project cost would, for their end of it, and they don't, unless we're doing the towers and everything, they don't do installation, so, we'd have that installation cost also. We'd also have the cost of removing what's up there, that is ours, so we'd have to rent a crane and something to get somebody up there. There'll be some cost there. $165,000 for their end on the lights. And then I'd say throw in another $10,000 to get all that stuff down and get their stuff up. By the time you get a crane and a basket and everything rented,
The 165 is just material.
that's just materials.
Okay, I just want to write this.
That would be materials shipped to us and then we put them up.
And that's if we go with the best possible, which is, I sure agree with Troy.
Well, the other option was a lesser light. There was two options on the lights. It was 40,
Like 80-30 and 50,
yeah, and
50-20 or something like that.
But for
Whatever
another
their words are.
$10,000, you're getting, you
Yeah,
know,
it's 10,000 more or something like that for the best lights we could get.
it'd be foolish not to spend an extra $10,000 and have the,
Yep. Works the same. But Brookings is the only town in South Dakota that has these particular lights, this new style of light, so.
he says our towers will support them. That won't be a problem. But we have to get what's up there down and then get their stuff up. And I don't think it'll be, as far as their stuff mounting on our towers, that won't be an issue. That'll be, the rest of the stuff they kind of take care of, and that's their boxes that they mount them just out of reach on the towers, and that's where all the working equipment for the lights are, and then they update they come off our transformer with their own equipment off of that, so. But, this is totally up to, I mean, I have not included the Baseball Association in on this yet. This just happened. And we've talked about lights at Leahy Bowl probably for a couple years now, but we've never put a plan in action to start either putting money aside for them or however you guys want to handle that. But I don't know, without talking to the coaches and the players, like where we're at as far as how many years do we have, can we get out of the current lights that we have before it's just like, I mean, I'm assuming people are gonna start complaining and then they're gonna say, no, we don't wanna play at winter.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna, then we'll probably lose some tournaments and stuff like that, but where do you think we're at time-wise?
I'd say within 2 years for sure. There's 2 bulbs burnt out. There's 2 black spots there, one behind home plate and down left field, right? I think so.
I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't know for sure, but yes, I understand that. I'm wondering, and I don't know if it's possible, but if we think it's gonna be around 175,000 or so, can you budget without, and still have the money available? Like if we put it in a budget for a 2-year project before we even order them? Is that something we can set aside, so that we don't have 180,000 or 170,000 all in one budget year? I mean, maybe that's something we should consider, whether it's a 2-year or a 3-year even deal, or is it possible to finance from the seller?
That is an option. We asked the guy, and they do have a financing program, so.
But I don't know if we can. If our city can, if we can do a 3-year plan and
I would
then,
imagine that the majority of the places that are putting lights in is gonna be a
Schools or
municipality,
cities.
a school, which would fall under that, a school or a town.
yep.
Not very many private owners own a baseball field.
No, I understand that, yep, yep.
But do you want to finance $200,000 and pay, do you want to finance and then pay interest? Or do you just, if we have the cash, pay it, if you could do it over 2 years.
That's what I'm wondering, because, trying to find $160,000 in 1 year's budget is a little harder to do than trying to find a third of 160 in 1 year's budget. If we could, if they finance things for 3 years or whatever.
If they have a decent I mean, if it's a decent financing program and you go ahead and finance it for 3 years.
But I think those
And
are
then
all
you-
questions that the council needs to
Then you-
have before them.
Then you find the money the next year and you just pay it off.
Yeah.
Assuming there's no early payment penalties.
So that's something you would want, and I don't know how we would word that, because we'll have to go out for bid on it again. Sorry to be a damper on things, but we'll have to go out for bid.
Oh, I told them that.
We understand all that, yeah.
So, you know, I don't know that you can write in your bid, must be able to finance us for 3 years. Because the bid specs are only supposed to be for the equipment. So you could get somebody who comes in that has the best price, but has no financing. So I wouldn't base it off of the fact that there is financing available, because you can't put that into your bid. We've asked for that before.
We wouldn't necessarily need to finance it through them, though.
Right, we could
No, you could
finance
go
it
to
anywhere, yeah.
We could
Yeah.
finance it through our own provider.
Yeah, you could, absolutely.
And he said something about, he was part of this thing that we already use anyway. Their company is,
Sourcewell. Yeah, they're a Sourcewell.
what do you call that, Source One?
Yeah, so if they give us pricing off Sourcewell, we don't even have to go out for bids on it. We can buy directly from them.
Good.
But, I mean, with a project that size, it's a pretty good idea to shop around and see what's all out there.
I agree.
And, I mean, I haven't been in any of these committees, the current lights, you can't put new bulbs in, or, I mean, I don't know.
Actually, we do have a couple of bulbs down at the light department still. And we don't know if they're old bulbs or new bulbs. You can't see, they're big bulbs. They're like this big around and they're like that long. And you can't the other problem is we don't have anything that gets up that high. And I climbed up one of the towers a couple years ago thinking that I could, reach over and, no, I don't have long enough arms.
Well, and I'm not saying, I'm just wondering.
We could order some, but if they still make them, I don't even know if they still make them. They were old that's what I understood, is last time they're sodium
Metal halide is what they're called.
lithium, I don't know, I can't, I read on the box, but,
I just didn't know if we could buy.
High
all the
pressure
bulbs
sodium.
For the whole park.
oh yeah, we could.
Chamberlain just rebulbed all of theirs, and in fact, I was just with the guy yesterday, and I think he told me it was $8,800 to replace the bulbs at their field, which is a twin to ours. Same towers, same everything, and they put in the old style metal halide bulbs.
Is that something we just don't wanna do, or we just haven't thought about it, or?
Well, first off, they only last 8 to 10 years, okay?
It's,
And
it's,
they don't put off.
it's a different kind of light.
these-
So now that everybody's played under the LEDs, nobody wants to play under the old style lights because it's just a totally different kind of light.
Yeah.
I could sit here and sell you on LED lights all day long.
Yeah.
Well, there's positives and cons to everything.
Yeah.
I was
Yep.
just curious, $8,800 goes into $165,000 quite a few times in 25 years.
Yep,
Yeah, we're 10 years into these, give or take a couple years, and they're getting bad. It would probably, obviously putting new bulbs in the ones we have would make a huge difference, and it'd be a fraction of the cost of doing it new. The counterpart to that is this guy's telling us we can probably expect to get 25 years out of these, so we wouldn't have to do anything for 25 years. The biggest problem with what we have is just getting up there. That's such a pain because we got to rent a special piece of equipment
Yep.
just to get us up high enough to change a bulb. But I can get prices on just bulbs too.
Is there energy savings to LEDs?
Oh,
I would
yeah.
assume.
yeah, well, just like the bulbs you buy downtown, 9 watts gives you 60.
Yeah. Everything we have, all of our hardware that we have is good. The wire size is all good. The breakers are all good.
I think, Troy, if you don't mind, I think you should keep pursuing the possibility of it. I don't know that we can do anything in 23 or 24, but we sure have to get it started, because I think it's gonna take a long time to put everything together and pull it together to get it done.
So do you want me to put in a $50,000 a year outlay into this budget and then full council decide at that point?
The other thing is, you know, and time is of the essence, because we're gotta have this budget whipped into shape here within weeks, but,
Weeks, the
I sure
24th,
think-
we're having our meeting.
I sure think that, you know, if we're gonna do a project this size, we need to include the baseball association, and I think those guys could do some fundraising, or, you know, try and throw a little bit of money at, help out at least. If we could have a couple fundraisers before that time and help with some of the costs, but this is a pretty big investment just for
Yeah.
one ball field if we go that route. It's a lot of money to put into one.
There's also grants we can get from Major League Baseball, for our youth field.
Yeah, for our youth fields.
Yep,
We
which,
gotta be under 14 is the way I read those.
what's that?
The way I read those grants from the Twins and the Royals is it's gotta be for, players ages under 14.
Oh, no, because I think Legion baseball fields qualify for that too, and that's under 19. But I'll look into that again.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, though. We'd have to not put in that application that the amateur team is gonna use the field.
Just to remind everybody, we are recording.
Yeah. Well, I don't
Um,
mind saying it. I mean, you know, who's gonna use the field? Yep.
So, I will try and get at least a couple more quotes on that before we meet again, and make sure that, you know, that this price is, you know, I'm sure, and reputable company, I'm sure his pricing is in line with everybody else, but just to get an idea what else is out there, and then I'll also see what it would cost to replace our current bulbs. See what that price is, and then mowers.
We will not have Parks and Cemetery again before retreat, just FYI. It's 2 weeks from today.
I'll just bring that information to the retreat. That's the final crunch time. We gotta have this thing published by September 9th.
5th is when it has to be approved.
September when?
5th,
5.
yes,
Okay.
that's when it has to be approved.
Yep.
Your mower inventory.
We're 2 John Deeres, 6 Grasshoppers, and the Ventrac.
We did not purchase, we haven't purchased any mowers since the Ventrec. That was, the Ventrec was to take place of a couple of the mowers, which it's done, hands down. But, so it's hard to say what's gonna happen in Marty's Parks Department. I know we've had this discussion, you were part of it. We don't know how many of our seasonal help, or how much longer they're going to be part of our fleet. We had a really good summer help group this year. I think Marty said they were outstanding. So that helps huge, but they are all gone at the end of end of next week. We have a couple stragglers that are hanging in next week, but otherwise everyone's gone either today or today. But we still have, and this has been a wet, you know, we've had over 3 inches of rain here in the last 10 days, so we're still going wide open on mowing, which is kind of unusual for this time of the year, but, yeah, we're just trying to plan and do more with less. And the grasshopper mowers are a flatland mower. We got a lot of area that we mow where we're finding these Ventrecs they're just really, we get a lot done with them. We'd like to purchase one more Ventrec and some equipment to go with it. You got those, did you bring the prices up for that?
So good.
Is that what the 60,000 is for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's already in the budget.
yes, I do.
And that
Where
would,
is it?
The very bottom line.
that would also help out with our ball fields, like, we wanna set a Ventric up just for doing
I don't show anything for 23.
24.
Oh, 24, okay. Okay, very good.
So what we want to do is we want to set up one machine that's just going to do the ditches, the highway ditches. We got 44 to do, we got Highway 18, all the way through town, both ends of town, east and west. And then our long lots and, our big areas of the, we do use the Ventric in some of the bigger areas.
Wet areas.
If we set wet areas, yeah, that ditch on Highway 18. If we set another one up, and the way Marty priced it out, this thing would be able to take care of Leahy Bowl, and the entire Bailey's complex around the walking track and everything. And this would come with the equipment on it to do all the grooming of the field, so it would shorten up Rusty's time to be able to do all that. It would be a one-person job. And he could do everything from the ball fields to the mowing and be done with it. And it saves us it saves us at least one person that has to be with Rusty when we're doing the mowing up there, the way we currently do it in the ball field. But like ball tournaments and things like that, like if we get a state tournament or something, and that's something that we've worked out with the Baseball Association, when it comes to the day-to-day games, our guys get the field ready before, so they don't have to stay and put in overtime. So they'll get the field prepped and ready to go for that game. But if we do host tournaments, we've told them that we will supply people to help
State
with
tournaments.
state tournaments, to help with those tournaments, and to get, keep everything rolling smooth and keep the fields prepped. And that's another part of this equipment, is it does everything in once.
It's not just a drag. Yeah, I mean, we can level fields and edge with it, and
So, I just know some are gonna ask, you said it saves a person, are you taking a person out of the wages?
We don't know. I mean,
If this is approved, are you going to less people?
we could go to less summer help. We could set, like, typically in the past, well, we've taken what summer help we can get, but we could definitely cap that number at, say like 5 kids or 6 kids. This year we had 7 or 8. 8
one of them went to sanitation, though, so we had 7 down there.
still gets paid out of parks.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could definitely, put a definite cap on the number of kids. Would you surplus any?
I think they're gonna wanna know, the council, especially one of them, is gonna wanna know, if we spend 60 for a lawnmower, what's the dollar amount that we're gonna save in labor because we have that?
What's the average summer help make?
Well, what we're looking at is replacing who mows all day. He's not gonna be here many more years.
If I remember correctly, when this was talked about once before, and without getting into too much detail because we are on camera, it was more looking at not necessarily the summer help, but the seasonal
you.
help.
There you go.
To seasonal help and wages going away and keeping just the summer help. Potentially, not knowing where all that's going to go out. We did not, in the budget, raise anything other than starting wage. We didn't change anything, didn't add any summer help, nothing. We left it the same.
Well,
as
I understand that, but if
Yeah.
you buy equipment that saves a bunch of man hours and don't get
Yep.
rid of man hours,
Then you've done no good.
then that says that there's somebody not
Yep.
doing anything.
Right.
I
It's an
would,
easy sell if you say, we're gonna save $15,000 a year on labor.
no, I totally,
You know what I'm saying?
agree with that. I mean, that is what we talked about is, right now we have, I guess the other thing is we'd probably surplus, at least a mower, probably one of the grasshoppers. Cause we've got some grasshoppers that are starting to get some hours on them. Maybe even 2 grasshoppers. Cause that's what we mow Leahy Bowl with now. is the grasshoppers, and then we mow all the ball fields with those. So we've typically been getting around $4,000 to $6,000 per mower out of the grasshoppers when we surplus them. But that's the trade-off, yeah. I mean, this is a year where the way they used to do it is every year they bought a new mower down there. One year they'd buy a John Deere, the next year they'd buy a grasshopper, then they'd buy a John Deere, then a grasshopper. And that, obviously we wouldn't do that. We'd surplus a couple of mowers. So you're probably looking at about $10,000 getting rid of a couple of mowers. And then the hard part about Parks kids is you don't know who's going to apply, year to year. We didn't have, I remember 2 years ago, we had 3 kids.
Yeah.
That's all we had for the summer. But our summer help, the seasonal help that Chandra and Marty are referring to is, those guys aren't going to last forever.
So, would you be comfortable saying you could potentially, after you surplus 2 grasshoppers, about $5,000 a piece, so there's 10,000 there, and then potentially cut 5,000 out of your summer seasonal help personnel services? And then there's 15,000 this year, not sure what next year would look like, but
Well, if we lose one of our seasonal guys, you're talking over $10,000 in salaries.
sure.
Because those guys work, they work.
April to October.
April till October.
Are you guys comfortable with cutting 10,000 out of your personal services next year,
Oh, yeah.
if this goes through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of the salary, you mean?
It'll be more than that.
It
Well, no.
it ought to be more than that, because we've already got budgeted 180,000 for salaries, and seven months in, we've only spent 80,000 of it.
So when you're looking at this sheet, this is only through June 30th. That's
June
not
30th,
wait-
not July 30th.
That is correct.
Everything's 2 months behind at the city.
Holy cow.
Everything.
I have not closed out for July yet, so I don't have all the 100% accurate numbers for July, so.
So
you're-
now it's 50% then?
Yep,
There's at least, well, there's 4 more pay periods on that than what shows.
and high pay periods, because there was overtime in there for ball games and different things like that, so. I'd say you're definitely over 50% for the year in your salaries as of right now. I would say you're probably closer to 65% right now.
Well, I don't know how accurate anything is, but
Well, actually, you're at 69.75%.
that's what it tells me through August 31st, but you told me
And then
that
this-
wasn't the right number.
This one, the landscape sheet.
Okay.
That's through June 30th. This one is through yesterday.
Yep.
And there will be another payroll on it for August yet.
Yeah, I printed this one. This is the numbers you sent out Monday.
Okay.
Good.
So this has got all the, it's got this last week's payroll and this week's payroll.
Yeah, there'll just be another payroll in August yet that'll go on to that.
So if I'm reading the 2 reports right, the original total budget for 2023 on this report says that we budgeted 179 and change for salaries.
Yep.
In the 2024 budget request, you want $10,000 more for those same salaries.
No, there's a percentage increase in there.
6.75%.
Yep. Well, technically, it's more than that because your 179 was only budgeted for 3.25 and we actually gave out 7.25.
Okay, but my question is, you're asking for $10,000 more in salaries on the 2024 budget compared to what we budgeted for 2023. Okay, so if you buy this $60,000 machine, I think I heard you tell Austin you could easy cut 10,000 out of your salaries by not hiring so many people to run the old lawnmowers.
Correct.
Okay, so if that's the case, then you really could put your budget and leave your salary budget the same at 179 instead of raising it to 189.
Yep.
I think that's what we would need to see, is what kind of savings are we gonna have everywhere else if we spend this money? And that's not only gonna affect that, but it's gonna affect retirement, OASI, and,
Now they're all part-time.
It'll
Okay.
affect OASI and workman's comp, but retirement will be the same because only full-time employees get
yep,
retirement.
yep.
and health
But
insurance.
there's other things it's gonna affect.
Yep, it does.
Yep, so, and I think that's something we're gonna have to look at all of our budgets. What can we do to not have an increase in budget line, you know, because as I understand it, we're a long ways away from having enough money to pay for the things that we want. And in most cases, the things that we need with these increases that we have to have.
Not as far as you'd think.
Less than $1 million now.
Is it?
It is.
Oh,
We
well-
cut 400 and some $1,000 out of Kurt's budget yesterday.
Well, I wasn't at that meeting, and
I just
So-
emailed them out right before this meeting.
okay, yeah, anyway, that's good, because we need,
And we got two big ones to go. We got Monday and Tuesdays, two of your big public works. We got water and sewer, and then we've got streets.
yeah,
And, you know, that's my opinion is if you're gonna go after if you're gonna go after enough money to balance this budget, streets is probably where you're gonna find it.
okay,
Just because streets is so, historically in the last 5 years, streets has been heavy project oriented.
yep. But we still gotta have enough money, so, I can support that other equipment if we can offset it with less people.
And we talked about
Yep.
adding another person in the Parks and Cemetery. We've had that discussion, and that doesn't look near as good on paper as it does by buying machinery, because it gets quite expensive when you add one more person into a department that, and the thing with Marty's departments is they go hard for 7-8 months out of the year, but then, then they slow way down.
Yeah,
So if I'm understanding correctly, when I go to do all these budget number changes, we want to fix personal services to $10,000 less in the summer seasonal help, and which will then affect OASI and workman's comp. We want to keep the $60,000 in there for equipment for the Ventrac and equipment needed there. We want to look to see what it looks like for a $50,000 outlay for 3 years for the lights. Only other two questions I had is you have rentals in this one as well. Did you need the 5,000 for rentals in this one?
I don't
No.
think so.
Okay, and then, your legals and advertisements, so for parks, I think the only thing that you guys advertise is just your summer help. And it looks like we spent 670 this year, and I think we've been trying to utilize social media more than the newspaper, so you have it at 1,000, do you wanna keep it at 1,000, or do you wanna go to 750?
Oh, it got high because we did our summer help, and then we did that twice.
Yep,
And then we had an open position.
yep.
So it could probably, that can be knocked down quite a ways.
The legals and advertisements.
Yeah, 750.
And that's not, that's,
I realize it's not a
that's
lot,
something
but-
that's like impossible to budget for, because you never know year to year what, we didn't think we were gonna have to budget, that we were gonna have to, I don't know what your summer help, like how old they were, if they're gonna come back next year, we're gonna start with
They're all invited back. I hope they all come back.
but we had a great
We
group
got-
of kids this year.
Sharp kids, so they're gonna,
You saying they're too smart to come back to the city?
There's all that Ventrac stuff. Troy.
How much is that actual Ventrac?
The machine, like, is it 33?
31,174.
Just the tractor.
And the attachments will get it up to 60, or was there more?
We're scaring the heck out of 60.
Doesn't your equipment line include one lawnmower too, though? That's only for the Ventrac?
And the attachments for the ball fields.
Okay. So,
And
do we really need the attachments for the ball field? I mean, don't we have a ball field groomer now?
We don't have anything that edges, and all we have for the field itself, like the Hager lime, we don't have anything that, all it does is drag it. So,
Doesn't it scarify it too?
it's just nails. Yeah, not,
it's just a drag.
yeah.
But this thing goes into the agar lime, and it picks up like 2 inches of it, and then it sifts it out, and it gets rid of any rocks or anything that are in there, and then it's got a level, so it levels the everything on the field,
Okay.
and then it's got a roller, so when it gets done, it's like this tabletop, and
Yep.
Then we'd have a finish cut deck for it. That's, how big are those?
84.
84 inches.
so we can mow, like right now, it takes 2 lawnmowers and about 3 hours to do it. He'll be able to do it with 1 mower in the same amount of time or less. It mows a lot faster than we'll have to mow.
And we don't bag.
Because it'll cut it up better than
It's a
the bagger will.
Yep,
yeah.
it's a mulching mower, so it,
I'll tell you what, that's a time savings right there. How much time do you think you spend not mowing, going and dumping that stupid bag?
30-year time.
Oh, I know.
Then we got to load it up.
then we gotta load
I
it
bet
off.
it's more than a 30-year time too, Marty, I'll bet, yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Then we gotta load it up and haul it out all the way out to the dump too.
Yep, I understand, yep. You may have to power rake it once a year, that we don't do now, but we should,
Yeah.
but you may have to power rake it, but I think that's worth it, because it gives you mulching as well, you know. that-
Yep, the
That you
other
need to
piece-
keep the grass green in the summer.
The other piece of equipment that we added that we added on for the Ventrex is one's an aerator.
Yep,
So it's a deal that runs out front, and it's got 4-inch long spikes.
that's like, is that like the plugger they use at the golf course?
Except-
Similar to that?
Yes, but it doesn't pull the plug out.
Right, just
So-
pokes a hole.
It
just
pokes a
fractures
hole.
the ground.
Yep, yep,
And then we have a cedar that mounts on the back that,
No, the cedar attaches to the aerator.
and then that knifes in the seed, so it's not just a broadcast, it's you're
Yep.
actually putting in. Leahy Bowl outfield's getting hard to bring it back. It's not greening up like it used to. It's
how often are you watering it, Marty?
At least 4 times a week, probably 3 times, every other day.
Every other day, just
Yeah.
like at an hour a day?
Yeah,
Or
45
hour
minutes or
cycle.
so.
Yep.
We cut it back a little bit, but yeah.
Yep, I wouldn't cut it back much, yep.
But
Because
the
those
ground-
roots are dependent on how much water they have to go get.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't water long enough, the roots will turn around and come up to the top, so.
so that's what the aerator helps with too.
Yep.
Is it gets the water down deeper in the
That'll be
soil.
good.
And it's so hard.
Yeah, the outfield's
All,
just
all our ball fields are so hard. Our cemetery, just so hard packed.
I'm not opposed to that machine, and, in this particular year, I think there has to be a trade-off, and if we're gonna do a trade-off with some man hours, I think it's fair.
it's a lot easier to say a seasonal help versus summer help, because the summer help, you never know, like I could get, like our summer help hours vary so much from year to year. Like we had this year we had a lot of graduating kids, so they didn't have much going on except for work. But in years past, we've had a lot of kids that they were juniors going into their senior year.
Still have practice.
Well,
and
they go
this
to
and that.
volleyball camp, and they go to basketball camp, and they
Yep,
go to football camp, and they go to, and then on an average day, we probably have, out of those 8, we probably have 4 here, 4 or 5.
6, yeah.
It was pretty rare to see.
Yeah, I would say they average 30 hours a week all through the summer.
So Chandra, I agree with you. Let's see if we can put 50 a year into this budget for possibility of lights at Lakey Bowl. I don't know when, it's almost been like certain towns across South Dakota are taking turns having the Legion State Tournament, but you have to bid for that in January of every year. So if our turn is coming up, I remember when we had the baseball team out of Sioux Falls came and played Sioux City. And that was before we replaced the light bulbs, because those guys came in and said, man, it's dark out here. But that was the first time we really realized that our lights weren't.
Yeah.
What's that?
They haven't played.
No.
Yeah.
Play in the daytime.
You know?
Gotta work.
Is Martin still at